Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud. And this is MTV The Challenges top 10 worst DQs. Let's start with number 10. I'm just going to go straight into it, man. Brandon drinks a beer before elimination. He drinks a beer before elimination. Now, people drink all the time on the challenge. This was on Fresh Meat 2. His partner was with he was with Caitlyn. Caitlyn was injured. I remember that. And yeah, she fell. She hurt her knee really fucking bad. And they were voted into elimination. She shows up on crutches and shit. And he's like, "Well, I'm going in tomorrow in the elimination. I'm going to drink beer." Which he did. And he got really drunk. Didn't he like fucking he flashed people, or he was just straight up naked, and he like jumped in the pool with in the hot tub with everybody and stuff like that. It was great. He was letting off steam because he's like, we are so fucked. There's no way we're gonna win an elimination, and especially those eliminations. They were called the Exile, and that was all running either uphill with pails and heavy and weights, solving puzzles, but like going up this giant ass mountain, or you were gonna go like through like hills and through the forests racing. Lots of running involved, all that stuff, right? So they show up at the Exile, and I don't know, it's funny, my memory makes me think that he showed up with the beers, like, all right, TJ, let's fucking do it. But no, that wasn't the case. But TJ learned of the alcohol, so by the time they showed up, he's like, dude, you guys are out of here, man. Like, Brandon, you consumed alcohol before this competition, and we here at the challenge don't approve. So he's out of there. And Caitlyn's like, oh, wow, Brandon, looks like you fucked up, huh? Well, you were screwed at either way. You know, either you could lose an elimination, Caitlyn, which you were inevitably going to do, even without the injury, let's be honest. Caitlyn's like one of the worst performers. Or Brandon got to have a drink and like, hey, whatever. So I don't know. I think this goes on the list. This is number 10, and it's really not that bad. And it's kind of foolish, like a foolish DQ, but not really. You're just like, nah, I could get where he's coming from. But the other thing is that this is one of the lightest things anyone's ever done to get DQ'd from the show. All right, because shit's gonna get dark soon, all right? So let me actually take a drink of this beer, and we'll move on. Let's see here. Number 9, Tina punches Beth in the duel. This is... I don't want to justify why they're on the list, because, I don't want to be like, well, see, physical assault versus sexual assault is like blah, 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 blah. I don't want to try and justify the list in a particular order, I don't know. We'll get into it, but I guess the reason why she's number 9 though is I remember she jumped up like Superman punch style, Superman punch. She jumps up and bam, hits Beth in the face, and I think breaks her sunglasses that she was wearing, and maybe there's like a bit of a mark, but it's mostly from the glasses just being pressed into her nose and stuff. It didn't look that impressive. I mean, well, whatever. I mean, I don't want to be too judgmental and be like, oh, Beth, come on, man, suck it up or whatever. But I do remember this in particular because this was at the same moment, like outside of that, Diem made her triumphant return from like her first cancer treatments and stuff, and she was recovering, and she had to take off her wig and, expose her short hair and stuff like that. And people were like, oh my God, you're so courageous. You're so brave. But like outside, I'm sure like Tina was like, what the fuck? Why does everybody talk about her? So she punches Beth. There's a little bit more that goes into that because Beth does mouth off a lot, but I don't feel like she really was. I think Tina, she hits her Then she's like, "Oh, it was worth it." She's like smiling, and TJ's like, "Yeah, no, you're fucking out of here," and stuff like that. And what were they fighting for? $150,000, something like that. First time ever, like a big payout. And this was second. Yeah, this was right after the second mission. Yeah, so it was really early in the game. So it's just dumb as well, you know. But yeah, and Tina, she didn't come back for the longest time. In fact, she never came back. She technically showed up as a cameo, like a mercenary by today's standards, along with CT and Cutthroat. But she didn't even win either one of those eliminations she went into. Like she didn't perform at all, you know. Um, that's that's the end of her. Well, let's get on to number 8. Steven slaps Shane. This was back in Battle of the Sexes 1. I should have wrote this shit. Now I'm just trying to remember stuff. Um, I had all these details and notes and stuff, and then I'm like, no, I'm just gonna like wing it just by the title itself. Great idea. Uh, no, I remember this was in prep of a mission. You know, all the men are gathering around, and they have to like form like letters together, and you know the other team is going to do it as well. And I think and they were strategizing going into this, and Steven was like, this is what we got to do. This is he's like going over their game plan, but he's kind of being a little bit loud. And that's when Shane he's like, I don't know if, does he say shh? He's like, shh, Steve, they're gonna hear you, something like that. And Steven looks at him, just gets pissed, and slaps him in the face. And everyone's like, whoa, whoa, what the fuck, you know? And do they compete? And then he gets kicked out or something. But I just remember Shane later on saying like, hey, he didn't do anything wrong, you know. I had it coming. Well, maybe he didn't say I had it coming, but he was definitely just like, don't kick him out, you know, and stuff like that. And Steven had to leave. Did he leave a note? Maybe he apologized. Oh my gosh, I should have did more research for this video, but um, that was I do remember that part. Yeah, because you could just see him just get so fucking mad at Shane for shushing him. He's like, "How dare you tell a white straight male what to do, Shane?" You know, it really seemed that way. And is that a fucking hate crime? I mean, like, how severe are these DQs? Well, Steven was gone. And this was back in the seasons and back in the times when people didn't repeat a lot of challenges. Some people showed up for one challenge and they were out of there. Like, hey, that was fun. This was a good time to spend a couple months in my early 20s. Now off to real life. Bye, Johnny Bananas. You know, that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, let's go on to number 7. Darrell punches Brad in the ruins. This was crazy because Darrell was on the champions team, and they were just fucking crushing it. They were unstoppable, getting all the money, eliminating everybody from the challengers. And Brad was on the challengers, and he was still on that team, watching his team getting whittled away every single day. And one night rather, they were getting drunk. Brad was getting drunk, drinking the fucking. This was, oh my god, this was the moment, with them fighting, resulted in the banning of brown liquor from the challenge house. This is how crazy this was. All right, so yeah, fucking Brad gets super fucking drunk, and this is very uncharacteristic of Brad. Like, he was, because if you think of Brad, he's like fucking mature. Even when he first appeared, like in his early 20s, he was still like a grown up. It was really weird having him around. So, but now he's just like, fuck that, and like he's just like falling around the house drinking alcohol at 1:09 p.m. That is kind of bad, isn't it? No, but this was late at night for him, so it's worse. No, it's actually more appropriate. But But yeah, he goes into the champs room, and there's everybody else, and there's Darrell. And Darrell was pretty drunk because I remember him mocking Brad. He's like, "Oh, what?" Because Brad was getting up. He was like, "What now, son?" Like he was flexing on him hardcore. And Darrell, Darrell was just sitting on his bed, like, "Yeah, yeah," just fucking mocking the shit out of him. And finally, he just had enough. Like Brad got up close to him. Darrell, like they grabbed each other, and Darrell just pushed, like was started walking Brad backwards, and just a little trip, like a leg trip. They fall down to the ground, and Darrell does some ground and pound before finally Evan, Kenny, Bananas, Derek, all those people that are their friends finally break it up. They never should have allowed it to get that way, but they were secretly wanting it because now Darrell had like all the money. There's so much information that goes into this, but Darrell is DQ'd. Brad is DQ'd because he was the main instigator and stuff. But yeah, it was kind of shocking because even though Darrell's a boxer, he was never really like he never lost his temper ever, you know. But again, it could have been that brown liquor, you know. So holy shit, that should have been like a another DQ, like the brown liquor DQ. But yeah, there you go. Darrell's gone, Brad's gone, but obviously they both would come back. Darrell would come back the immediate season afterwards, doing some major PR. He was like smiling now and like being super like goofy and wacky and stuff like that. He's like, "Hey man, I'm not violent," you know what I mean? It was crazy, and it was actually nice to see, you know, because usually Darrell's kind of stoic and kind of boring, you know. There you go. Number 6, CT punches Adam King. This was the Duel 2. This was before any mission took place. This was the first night there. And was it a birthday party? No, it wasn't a birthday. I think it was a Halloween party. So everyone's dressed up in like fun clothing, and or was it a pajama party? Something like that. Just something like where it looks like things should be happy and fun. And what the fuck happens? Oh yeah, CT bangs Siobhan on the rooftop. People hear whispers or of what happened, and Diem starts to catch wind, and she wants to find out the truth. So she goes to Adam, and Adam's like, "Well, hey, I have no idea. I actually don't. Like, maybe, I don't know. I've heard something like that too, but I don't know. Do you know?" He's just talking to Diem, and CT he comes walking in, and he's like, he sees those two talking together, and he's like, "Oh, that's fucking Adam. He's talking mad shit. He's fucking selling me out. That fucking, I'm gonna bruise him up." He's just like getting so pissed off at Adam. So later on, yeah, Diem does question CT. She's like, "What the fuck happened?" or whatever. He's like, "We're fucking apart. Remember, you ended the relationship." Or what? So they weren't even together. But still, like, CT has his ex saying, like, "What the fuck? I thought we were blah, blah, blah." So CT walks over to the room where Adam was at. And there was like a bunch of people there. He's like, "You fucking, you're talking mad shit." I don't exactly remember what was going on, but I do remember because Adam and CT have gotten into a physical altercation before. CT like kind of was shoving Adam into the streets of Paris. So now this time you actually see they're so close together. Like there's like bunk beds, fucking bunk beds in every fucking season. But you see him trying to, while he's talking to Adam, they're trying to walk by, but like, it's so busy and crowded that they actually like eventually, bump into each other. And Adam's like, "Hey man," and he kind of like does something with his belly or something like that, or touches CT's arm, and CT's like, don't touch me." And Adam's like, "I'll fucking touch you as much as I want," and he like kind of taps his belly again. And then once they get in just enough room, striking distance, that's when CT's like, "Hey Adam," bam, right in the face. Everyone's like, "Holy fuck, this is real." And Adam comes launching back at CT, and they're separated, but it was terrible. Like CT chased Adam throughout the entire house. there was like dents and shit in the hallways and stuff. And again, this was during a party, and that's just added to the scariness. You know, it was like, man, this is like domestic violence. You know, you have all the women screaming in the background. You have producers like just trying to talk some sense into CT, and that's when CT is like, I will smash his head and need it. You know, iconic as shit. Like they used this fight as the promotion for the Duel 2 in the Duel 2 trailer. You know, they opened up with them talking to each other. Maybe even showing Adam get hit by CT. I'm not sure, but it was so fucked up though. Like it was really disturbing. Just the way it was shot. You know, everyone just terrified out of their minds. You know, it was truly bizarre. And you know, Adam got to return the next season for the Ruins, and I heard that CT was going to show up for the Ruins, but everyone was like, "No, fuck that! Like you are, you know, he's a fucking monster. You know, he's a, I don't know, like CT really." People had enough of that because this isn't CT's first DQ. He's been DQ before. He hit Davis in the face in Inferno 3 and got kicked out. So that's not on this list, by the way. But yeah, it was nuts. And then so CT wasn't allowed back for the longest time. He made a small little cameo with Tina in Cutthroat as a mercenary, and I think it helped the fact that he did really well against Tyler, but it really helped the fact that he just completely dominated Bananas in such a now iconic fashion. You know, that was the Johnny Bananas backpack, you know, where he's like fucking walking with another human being on his back, just like it was nothing. It was crazy. So CT finally got to show back up in Rivals 1. But yeah, CT got a lot of shit for that, you know. Let's get to number 5. Shane Reigns, not Shane, whatever his name is from before. Shane punches Simone. Simone scratches Shane, smashes a bottle, threatens him with it. Now, this was on, fuck, why didn't I write this shit down? Dirty 30, I want to say. Yeah, it was totally Dirty 30. This wasn't caught on camera, but, like, you had eyewitnesses. Like, Devin, you know, you think of Devin, you're like, he tells the truth, you know, he's not a bullshitter. He was just like, yeah, I saw that shit. It was terrible, you know? So Shane and Simone were kicked off. This wasn't the first time Shane got physical. Remember him and Tony, his brother Tony, they got physical on Bloodlines and stuff like that. So this was crazy. I think Shane would have got kicked out just for hitting Simone, and Simone would have got kicked out for the scratches, I'm sure, but the broken bottle, like, holy fuck. Neither of these two have returned since then. So who knows if that's the punishment or it's just like, well, you guys were all right, you know. Like Shane, you were Tony's brother, and, you know, we have the better brother here. And Simone was never really on the show for too long. She would eventually get either eliminated or whatever. Yeah, something like that. So she never really had a long time on the show. So maybe that's why they haven't been back. But it just sounds just terrible, you know? Just awful what they did to each other. Number 4, Vinny rips Mandy's shirt off. Oh my god. This was Battle of the Exes 1. This was truly bizarre because Vinny was partnered with Sarah and they just won the mission. So they're going out to the bar and they're partying and stuff. And Mandy is wearing a shirt that is barely there, but still, it doesn't excuse anything. So, but Vinny and Mandy, who are actually friends, like they fucking met they were both Fresh Meat 2 alumni, or they're from Fresh Meat 2. That's where they made their debut. And so they're pretty much friends, you know? And they're on the dance floor, and I guess Vinny just tears her shirt off, exposes, you know, everything. I think, does Mandy slap Vinny? I'm not sure. But so Vinny's able to come back, vote in Wes and Mandy into elimination. Like what the fuck? And then later on, TJ shows up and says, "Hey, you're fucking out of here, Vinny and Sarah." You know. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Uh, Vinny never came back after that, but at the same time, he only did what was that? His third appearance overall, and he was kind of. I mean, I can't judge. What do you mean I could judge? I could just say a fact. He was overweight. When Vinny debuted in Fresh Meat 2, he was just ripped and shit, and then by and then all of a sudden he returns from Cutthroat to Battle of the Exes 1, and he's just like let himself go. You were just like, is that even the same dude? Like, did he stop doing the fucking steroids and shit? Like, it was crazy. But then you also heard that like he was like homeless. He was saying like how yeah, I would have to sleep with a different girl every night, so I had a place to crash. You're like, what the fuck? So I think Vinny was just cast there for Sarah. There wasn't really. So who knows if Vinny would have gotten back even after he tore the shirt off. And I do remember Vinny looking to Mark Long for advice, and he's like, I don't know, man, what do you think? And Mark's like, was like, maybe back in the day, but not now, not these days. It's almost like Mark was thinking longingly, like, yes, when you could just expose, like women didn't make a big deal of it because, hey, it happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Okay, let's get to number 3. Nia touches Jordan inappropriately. Hurricane Nia Moore, I think her name is. Nor, I don't know. But this was in Battle of the Exes 2, and this was pretty messed up. I mean, Nia was like really physical and like beat the shit out of people in real world, right? And then she's like, I'm Hurricane Nia because I fuck people up and stuff like that. So this Hurricane Nia is going off on Jordan and saying like how, oh, you're weak, you are you don't have a dick, and that makes you, like, it was really a confusing attack because before that she was saying like how she's big with the LGBTQ. Did I miss a letter? I don't remember, but she was just, I don't know, it was so bizarre. She's like, Jordan, you're weak and I'm more superior, and you're so weak you don't have a dick. It's like, you don't have a dick, Nia. What are you saying about you if you don't have a dick either? Like, what the fuck? So anyways, none of this was making any sense. So but she still amped it up, and she fucking just walks up and like just touches Jordan on the dick, on the cock. Yeah, it was nuts. Then producers like, all right, that's enough, or something like that. Or no, it's after way later. Like, it's not like people walk in like, how dare you touch a man's cock, No, I just remember this being treated like a big deal because after TJ shows up, it's like, hey, you have to leave or whatever. Maybe TJ doesn't even show up. I don't remember, but I just remember cameras following Nia. She gets into an elevator. They don't even say she's kicked out. They're just like, hey, can you come with us or something like that. Elevator closes. Cut to commercial. Or no, cut to black. And it says, if you've ever been sexually assaulted, call this number or something like that. Or like, and like, we support the LGBTQ or something like that. It was just really like, hey, we have nothing to do with this woman. Like, we're sending her out of here and stuff. Like, that was the producers really like, holy fuck. That was crazy. Nia never returned after that. And I feel like she was being treated as a pretty good prospect. I mean, they gave her Leroy, and and I think producers want Leroy to do really well, so they gave him a suitable character to work with and stuff like that. So, yeah, she never came back. Number 2, Evan and Kenny sexually assault Tanya. These are all terrible. God, I want to talk about the challenge, but I never want to talk about the negativity of it. But this is all terrible. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. All right. So this was in the ruins. This was, I just remember Tanya being very, very drunk all the time. And I remember this being Evan Kenny, like, dialing up their obnoxiousness and just like harassment, and like they would really treat women pretty badly. I mean, they treated everyone badly, but yeah, they would just do shit to like Katie and to Tanya. But anyways, what they did to Tanya though, like from what was filmed, was like, they would just like throw flour in her face while she's like, barely capable. She's like, get the fuck out of here. And they're like throwing shit at her and just pranking the fuck out of her. But what wasn't filmed, or maybe it was filmed, but what was never aired, is that she was drunk and I believe passed out. And apparently they tried to slap her face to wake her up. Didn't work. So then they grabbed some person's toothbrush. They rubbed her vagina and eventually inserted it into her. This is all terrible. I told you it was going to be dark, right? So she doesn't even wake up after that, right? Like everything passes. Eventually Tanya continues to drink or whatever. Like on the show, what we can tell, she continues to drink. She slaps Veronica. She gets DQ'd. That DQ is not on this list. It's this fucking DQ. She's never asked to come back ever again. She later files a lawsuit, and she says, like eventually, she's like, they sexually assaulted me because, and I was wrongfully terminated because I raised these concerns with them. The producers and stuff. Because she tried. Yeah, the lawsuit was against both Evan and Kenny and Bonham Murray, or the MTV producers. So more information came out, and apparently, like the females, like her other female contestants or whatever, eventually had to tell her. She's like, hey, they were like fucking messing around with you and stuff, and she's like, she even said she woke up that next morning, and her vagina was sore. And she assumed maybe it's because of the challenges that they were doing during the day. I had so much more information on the lawsuits and shit. Like now, all this information is coming back to me, and it's all very disturbing. But she also said, she was like, listen, like the women, the other people that didn't come forward necessarily, but they were like, hey, these guys are douchebags, Kenny and Evan, but they're encouraged to do that by producers to be, to get all this sensational shit, like, and Kenny and Evan, they were just like, no pranks. We prank people. We treat people like garbage. Like, we're just going to amp that shit up because we're getting fed all this liquor and stuff. And so what happened was they eventually, MTV, they settled out of court. And part of the lawsuit or whatever that had to be done, the settlement perhaps, was that Kenny and Evan couldn't do any more challenges, right? So you had the ruins happen, right? Fucking Kenny and Evan go on to win that challenge, make a bunch of money. Fresh Meat 2 happens, Kenny's on there. Cutthroat happens, neither on there. And then Rivals, they both show up on Rivals. And this was right around the time, this was right before the time the lawsuit would come out or something like that, right? So they just, because they film 2 challenge seasons a year, this is my assumption. You get Kenny and Evan back one more time and before they have to stop doing challenges. Because you ask them, like, they'll do interviews and stuff. They're like, so, when are you going to come back? And they always just kind of lower their heads and just like, no, I got, I'm doing other stuff now. I got a podcast, I'm looking into other ventures, man. But really, if you think about it, those guys were like the beginning lifers, the people that just showed up every fucking season and competed. And why did they compete every season? They were fucking personality overload. They were great, but they also competed terrifically well. They were the ones that formed the alliances. They formed the entire second era of the challenge. And for them to suddenly give it up, it just didn't make any goddamn sense. It's awful because Kenny's all right, I guess. I don't know, but Evan's like one of my favorite challengers, and it sucks, knowing that shit went down. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's almost like how I got to feel about like other people that I like Marlon Brando and Woody Allen. Like, turns out they were kind of they were assholes. They were fucking pricks. So Evan and Kenny, they were fucking awful people as well. So, hey, that's number 2. Let's talk about number 1, right? Camilla punches a producer, steals a golf cart, and threatens suicide. This is the main thing that should be underlined here. Camilla punched a producer. Now, it resulted in her being scrubbed from like the promotional posters, edited out as much as possible. While this happened on this happened on Champs vs. Stars 2. It's technically called Champs vs. Stars, but it was the sequel to Champs vs. Pros. Whatever. We're not here to talk about that necessarily at all. But Camilla, like erased from the posters, not talked about. While this show aired, fucking Dirty 30, which was being stretched out forever, and with like 2 reunions, 2-part reunions, didn't even announce yet that Camilla won, I believe. I think that's what it was, or maybe they just did. But Camilla didn't show up at the reunions at all. Like, they were just given like some weird excuse, like, Camilla's just not here, guys, and everyone wanted to be like, why? And it made it even more awkward is because she ended up winning. It was all a big like reveal at the end. It was so fucking stupid. But yeah, you're just like, where the fuck is Camilla? And Camilla, who has been kicked out before, who has made, her brand is the Camillinator. That's her nickname. Every fucking season she shows up, she's like, I get drunk and I do fucked up shit. And then the producers throw up like a highlights reel, and all this awful shit that Camilla's done over the years, and how much of a, it's like borderline Tanya, where you're like, oh God, you're just drinking so much and stuff like that. It can't be healthy for your mental state. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter the awful shit that she said to Leroy and stuff, like all this stuff that she's done over the years, right? This is where she crossed the line. And I don't believe it was stealing the golf cart. And I don't believe it was threatening suicide. It was the fact that she punched a producer. And that's when they're like, holy shit, you get the fuck out of here, Like, we are not dealing with you anymore. That was the line. That was the magical line. I've given the producers a lot of shit over the years. And making this list to remind me why. Usually I'm just like, oh, those fuckers. They put a to be continued right before an elimination. Those pricks, But I can't lose sight of a huge problem with the producers. They create environments. They need to have these characters one up themselves every season and shit. Terrible, awful things. Just don't do it to them. They're just like, holy fuck. Because, again, Kenny and Evan, after the fact, after the ruins, they were still coming back, And there's no way they would have got rid of Kenny and Evan, Fucking Tanya had to fucking sue them, for fuck's sake. So that's why the biggest DQ of all time is the producers, although they're not disqualified. They'll continue to do this, Really, really awful people when you think about it. God, why do I do a show in which I want to just attack the product in which I'm talking about? That's not really the case. It's just with this, I was like, oh my God, I got to come up with a list. Let's talk about DQs because what just happened? Corey did the judo throw with Tony and got thrown out. Yeah. Well, like, subscribe, comment. This has been a real blast. Just a joy. Oh my gosh. A jubilee of emotions. Like, subscribe, comment. This is Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.